The observation deck of the Galactic Academy station buzzed with the chittering and warbling of a dozen alien species. Young cadets from across the known galaxy gathered for their weekly cultural exchange program, where each species demonstrated artifacts from their homeworld. 11-year-old Elle stood before the assembled crowd, her small human frame dwarfed by the towering Crethians and the sprawling bulk of the Molluscan delegates. In her hands, she held a katana, its curved blade catching the artificial light in a way that made it seem almost alive. "This," Elle began, her voice steady despite the intimidating audience, "is called a samurai sword, or katana. It's from Earth, my home planet." Immediately, a series of clicking sounds erupted from the Vrexian section. The insectoid beings swayed their antennae in what humans had learned was their version of laughter. The largest among them, a cadet named Zixter, stepped forward on his 6 legs, a primitive blade. Zixter's translator rendered his clicks into standard galactic. "Your species still values such crude instruments. We Vrexians mastered plasma weaponry 3,000 years ago." He gestured with one of his forearms toward the sophisticated energy rifle mounted on his back. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. Even Julian, Elle's human companion and one of the few other Earth children at the Academy, shifted uncomfortably. At 13, he'd grown accustomed to the other species viewing humans as the newcomers, the primitive backwater civilization that had only recently achieved faster-than-light travel. "The girl brings a knife to a starship," a molluscan wheezed, its translator struggling with its species' wet, bubbling speech. "How, quaint." Elle's jaw tightened, but she didn't lower the blade. Instead, she looked directly at Zixter. She asked. The Vrexian's mandibles clicked in amusement. "By all means, small human. Show us what your ancient blade can do." The Academy's protocol officer, an elderly Tertian with silver scales, looked concerned. "Perhaps we should move to the combat simulator. The training hall will suffice." Elle interrupted politely but firmly. "I won't need much space." The crowd followed her to the adjacent training facility, their curiosity piqued despite their mockery. The room was designed for various species combat training, with adjustable gravity and atmospheric conditions. Elle requested Earth-standard settings. Julian approached her as the others filed in. "Elle, you don't have to prove anything to them." She smiled at him. "I'm not proving anything, Julian. I'm teaching." Once everyone had assembled, Elle walked to the center of the mat. She set down the katana and began speaking. "This sword was forged over 400 years ago on Earth," she said. "The process took 3 months. The smith folded the steel thousands of times, heating and hammering. Why?" She paused, looking around at the assembled aliens. "Because humans learned that true strength comes from endurance, from being broken down and remade, again and again." Zixter clicked impatiently. "Fascinating history, but I'm not finished," Elle said. And something in her tone made the Vrexian stop. She picked up the katana. "You see this as primitive, but let me tell you what it represents. The samurai who carried swords like this didn't just train their bodies, they trained their minds. They practiced something called mushin, the state of no mind, total awareness, perfect calm in the midst of chaos." She turned to the protocol officer. "Sir, could you activate training drones? Combat level 3. The Tertian's scales rippled with concern. "Child level 3 is designed for adult warriors." "Level 3, please," Elle repeated. Reluctantly, the officer activated the system. 6 spherical drones materialized around the training mat, their surfaces gleaming. They were programmed to attack with stunning bolts, painful but non-lethal. The moment they activated, Elle moved. It wasn't the movement itself that stunned the watching aliens into silence, it was the quality of it. Elle didn't rush or panic. She flowed. The katana became an extension of her body, deflecting energy bolts with impossible precision. When one drone swooped toward her, she sidestepped at the last microsecond, her blade tracing an arc that sent it spinning away, disabled by a strike to its central processor. She was 11 years old, barely 4.5 feet tall, but she moved like water, like wind, like something far beyond her years. Within 2 minutes, all 6 drones lay deactivated on the mat. Elle stood in the center, not even breathing hard, the katana held in a perfect guard position before she slowly lowered it. The silence in the training hall was absolute. "Impossible," Zixter finally whispered. "The reaction time required, the spatial awareness. Even our warriors trained for years to reach level 3. Elle walked toward him, the katana held respectfully in both hands. "How long have you trained with your plasma rifle, Zix?" "2 cycles, the Vrexian replied, still stunned. "I've trained with this sword since I was 6, Elle said quietly. 5 years, every day, not because the sword itself is special, but because it teaches discipline, focus, respect. The samurai understood. Something that you and your advanced weapons have made you forget. She held the blade up so the light played across its edge. Technology is powerful, but technology without discipline is just noise. A warrior isn't defined by their weapon, they're defined by their spirit, their training, their ability to remain calm when everything around them is chaos. Julian stepped forward, pride evident on his face. Elle is ranked third in her age group, in Earth's martial disciplines. Humans don't just build weapons, we build ourselves. The molluscan delegate moved closer, its eye stalks focused intently on the blade. I withdraw my mockery, young human. There is clearly much we underestimated. Elle bowed, a formal gesture she'd learned along with the sword techniques. Every species has their strengths. Humans learned early that our bodies aren't the strongest. Our senses aren't the sharpest. And our technology developed slowly compared to many of yours. So we learned to perfect what we could control, our minds, our discipline, our ability to endure and adapt. She looked around at the assembled cadets, meeting each set of alien eyes or optical sensors with quiet confidence. You can laugh at our primitive weapons, she said, but never mistake tradition for weakness, and never underestimate what a human can do when they've trained their entire life to turn disadvantage into strength. That's what these swords represent. That's what the samurai understood. And that's why, 400 years later, we still teach our children to wield them. Zixter approached slowly, his antennae lowered in a gesture of respect. I would very much like to learn more about this way of the samurai, if you would teach me. Elle smiled, the expression transforming her serious face into that of the child she truly was. I'd be honored, but fair warning, it takes patience. Then, the Vrexian said, it seems I have much to learn from humans after all. As the other cadets crowded around, asking questions about Earth's martial traditions, Julian caught Elle's eye and grinned. She'd done more than defend a sword, she'd shown them all what humanity brought to the galactic stage. Not the loudest voices, not the biggest weapons, but the unbreakable spirit that came from being forged, again and again, like folded steel, into something stronger than they'd ever imagined.